The garden has been an excellent initiative. We actually had one of the nursing sisters within the hospital. It was always her wish to actually have a garden dedicated for the staff of the hospital. Obviously then I still was very, very fortunate and had some money which was still being donated to us, and we approached the trust and said, well, could we combine the wishes of this nursing sister and actually provide a staff garden and a chemotherapy unit garden.
Healing Arts came about for us because my father-in-law was receiving chemotherapy treatment at St Mary's, and his wife is a keen gardener, and I think she was talking to Maria, and the topic came up about their plans of possibly making a garden in the space by chemotherapy.
This nursing sister, she always loved spirals, so we based the whole design on a spiral.
We wanted to create a garden that people would walk around and settle into various places. This was something that was mentioned in the brief, that there needed to be areas for people to sit down and feel like they've got an area in the garden for themselves. So if they wanted to sit there and speak to their friend, then they would feel a sense of privacy. The idea of the planting was to create something that had interest throughout the year. We wanted to introduce plants that would give an evergreen backdrop. So again, giving the garden a sense of enclosure. We've included evergreen hedging plants that in time will grow up and fill the space, so that the whole of the garden itself feels much more enclosed, because it is next to some ugly buildings and a road.
The garden which we eventually chose, within the garden there are many, many plants there with healing properties. We also wanted a garden which provided colour all year round as well. So right the way throughout the seasons, there's always something growing, something changing. The smell if you walk around the gardens. So we've catered for people who may be confined to wheelchairs as well, so that the various heights of the plants are all very accessible.
We wanted to bring some planting up to sort of a comfortable height, so that when you're sat down it feels like you've got something around you at this sort of height. So when you're sat, you've got a view through the whole of the garden, and because the garden's on a slope anyway, you get different views of different levels of planting.
It's again reflecting the environment of the chemo unit, so there's lots of purples, lots of reds out there, and various colours which are always changing, so it's lovely.
The idea of other artists in the garden came up quite early on in the discussion with Guy, and really made it very exciting and made it a project that I really wanted to get involved with. I've wanted to work with artists in my gardens for a long time, and not had much opportunity to do that. So that really did tick my box and made it very exciting. There was mention of using glass sculptures, using Martin's work, I think fairly early on in the discussion.
In the chemo garden, we wanted to make caps for the posts in the garden. And so I made boulder-shaped pieces of glass which sit on top of the taller sleepers there and catch the light.
They give a sense of focus for when you're sat in the garden and you look up. If you perhaps want to look up into the sky, and you see these lovely glass sculptures on top of sort of 6 to 8 foot high posts that catch the light and really add to the plants and the colours.
We also wanted to make a central feature. Because there was no actual water in the garden, I made a panel of glass to replicate the idea of water and a pond in the centre of the courtyard.
And then Paul and his furniture was discussed a bit later date. I think initially it was realised that the furniture was going to be very important, to have the right furniture for the garden.
By the time I came to do my pieces, the garden was nearly finished. So I actually stained the base of the seats and things to match the timber he'd had in the garden. So I tweaked it a bit with my final touches to blended in with his design.
With Paul, I'd seen his work around the yard and had wanted to work with him, so to then have that opportunity was, again, very exciting for us.
The brief was that it had to be fairly organic and naturalistic, so that's I did my designs to suit the brief. I think we sort of tweaked them a little bit in discussion at the time with Guy, and the final design was accepted, and it was using fairly organic shaped pieces of wood to make the sort of the seats.
And it is a beautiful, tranquil garden out there, so it's normally, weather permitting, people are using it, which is lovely. And there's lots of wildlife now which are coming, so there are insect nests and boxes out there, so they're attracting all various insects and wonderful, wonderful plants which are growing and changing each week, so it's lovely out there.